Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Spring 2023 New Jersey Film Festival Filmmaker Interview Series. Today we have Anna Cuadra. Oh, I probably butchered it again. Cuadra, that's pretty close, right? And Alexia Fraser. Anna Cuadra is the director of The Language I Speak, which is a wonderful documentary about dialects in American culture. And we're going to be talking to her for the next 25 minutes about her film. Her film will be part of our opening night program, which will be on January 27th at 7 p.m. for the in-person screening and all day online. Our festival is a hybrid. We are still going to be showing films online, and the film will be available. All the film programs are available for 24 hours. So you can start watching at 12:01 midnight on their show date, and you have till 11:45 to start watching. And if you're a late movie watcher, you can start late and you still have 24 hours to finish. So you can start at 11:45 and then finish the next day. So anyway, welcome, Anna. Welcome, Alexia. Alexia Fraser is one of our judges for the New Jersey Film Festival, and I've invited her to participate in the Q&A with Anna. So welcome to both of you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks.
Anyway, so I guess I will ask the first question. And Anna, I've already interviewed you for EBTV, and we'll be making that interview available to anybody who buys a ticket, and it'll be on our social media. But I kind of wanted to ask that same question to you again about how you jumped in to make this film. How did it start?
So I was listening to public radio, and I heard an interview with one of the sociolinguists, Cara Becker, who was talking about the New York accent. And at the moment I was living in Manhattan, and I thought, of course, it's a fascinating topic because there are so many accents in New York City, in New York alone. And I thought, oh, this would be such a great project to do, and it would be fun, and hearing people's accents and where they come from. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe we should just focus it in the U.S. without having to touch the accents of people that come from abroad, because that would be way too much. So that's how I started the project. And I thought, let me explore, how do people in the South talk? How do people in the West talk? How do people in Texas talk? How do they, what words do they say that are specific to the region? And then I found out that there was an event with sociolinguists at Georgetown University. And I thought, okay, let me talk to them, because they're the experts. They know what is this whole thing about. And that's how it started, with the interviews to these sociolinguists, who gave me a lot of information about how the way that we speak evolves, what words we create in each region, how, what ideas do we have about people that come from other regions, to the East, to the West, to the South, and lots of different topics, language acquisition, how do we acquire a language, our ideas about gender differences when we talk to babies, when, all of these are concepts and ideas that we live, that we bring, and that we pass to our children. And sometimes we are not even aware of how does the media, what is the role of the media when it comes to, stigma and all those topics. So it became a little bit bigger than I thought, but very interesting for me as a filmmaker. I learned a lot. And then with the help of my editor, we were able to put it together as a documentary that made sense, and what topics we should take and what topics we should just let go.
How long did the project take from start to finish?
A long time. So I'll tell you a little history about it. I heard the that interview with Cara many years ago, and I went out with a couple of assistants. We went to the streets and started to ask people, hey, what's, where are you from? What's your take about, the way people speak? What words do you use? That was, a little bit of work. But then when I saw the interviews and I went to this event, I thought, it's too big. This is too big for me. I'm used to making films based on the screenplays, and so I was a little lost on it. That was a few years ago. I'm not going to say how many.
That's okay. I mean, it's obvious that there was a lot of love, time, and energy put into the project. And, you know, I wondered if you worked, how it was during COVID. Did
Yes.
that slow the process down? Did it, I mean, because I see that there's some Zoom interviews, but not that many. And I think that was something that I thought about, maybe that, you know, made the process even longer than you had anticipated.
Actually, COVID is what propelled me to go back to the documentary, because working in the film industry, it was so difficult to work during COVID times. We shut for many months. And so I said, okay, I got to keep my mind busy. Let's go back to the documentary and see what I have. So it was sleeping for a while, the documentary. So I took the material back, look at it, and I said, hey, you know what? I still love these ideas and the documentary and the interviews. Let me just put it together. So because I had enough time during COVID, I started the documentary again. And that's when I was able to put it together. I found an editor, I found assistants. I said, okay, I cannot travel and I still need some interviews. How am I going to, learn or talk about the West, the South, California, the Midwest? So I was able to get in touch with some professors, sociolinguists, and some people in general, like people from radio stations that have a lot of people talking in their stations, so that I could hear what they sound like. And so COVID was actually a good thing for me. I had enough time and I was able to focus on the documentary. And then thanks to my editor, Serge, he was able to make a really good piece with it.
Wonderful. Alexia, I've been hogging all the questions, so please jump in, ask Anna a question.
Okay, so what was your approach when you were doing the interviews? Did you already have a story worked out that you wanted to tell, or did you just kind of let people talk and work from there with what they gave you?
So my approach was to find out what was their idea in terms of, do we speak properly or do we not, based on the way we speak, using whatever we produce, right? A word that we produce that's typical from a region, or an accent that we produce. I think the main thing for me was to find out what concepts they had about that, proper ways of speaking English, which in essence they don't really exist. If you are thinking, this is the way a person speaks from this region, and you're thinking, well, I don't speak that way, so maybe this person is wrong, then that's when we start to, crack it a little bit, right? You're like, oh, wait a minute. This is about understanding that people speak different in different regions. So it was interesting. And that was what I wanted to get. What are their ideas about it? Which gave me a sense of, oh, we still struggle with understanding and accepting that people speak different in different settings, in different regions, in different, when you are, giving a lecture, or when you're talking to your mom. There's a dialect coach that says it right. He says, if I'm upset or tired, or I'm not feeling well, my accent comes right back. When I'm talking to my mom, my accent comes immediately. If I go home to my neighborhood, my accent comes back immediately. It's so interesting. So that was my idea. I wanted to know what they were thinking about it. And a lot of people think, oh, you don't speak well, you don't speak right, and some people think, no, as long as it's clear and you're saying whatever you need to say in a clear way that people can understand, you're fine. But it's tough. There's a big majority that still think, oh, you don't speak well.
But there's so many biases that in terms of certain types of jobs, that there's no way you're going to be able to be a person on TV dealing with the news, talking with a Brooklyn accent. I mean, there's a certain type of American accent that is the norm on TV, and your documentary talks a lot about that. Do you want to tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So we have Dennis Preston, who is a sociolinguist, who was giving me a little bit of information about that, who mentioned some of the old broadcast personalities and said, this person is from this region. This other person is from this region. I know that because I'm a linguist and I know how to figure out where they're from because of whatever, the way they say a word. Now, for a normal viewer, it might not, you might think that they sound generic and, they kind of have a Midwestern accent a little bit.
Right.
It's more like a general type of English. And so he says, this concept of everyone who wants to be on TV reading the news, they go to a secret school in the Midwest where they learn a Midwest accent. It's a mystery because there really is an accent. It's just very mild. Now, if we see the news, and I think I put some segments there on the documentary, you will be able to hear some little accents here and there from other regions, from the South. There are a lot of, broadcasters that are from Hispanic backgrounds, from Asian backgrounds, from different backgrounds that still carry a little bit of an accent. Now you can understand what they say. You do. And you also, if you pay attention, you will also hear that they have an accent. But for the region, they sound just like the people from the region. But I think as long as you understand, and they have to speak clearly, a lot of them, especially actors in the East Coast, in New York, they go to dialect coaches to kind of like minimize their accents a little bit, so that they can control their accents if they're in front of the camera. But I think that to me personally, I think they still have an accent, and I love them. I love accents. I love to hear them.
Yeah, I think it shows off the diversity of the country. Alexia, do you want to jump in and ask another?
Do you think that you'll ever make any other films focusing on dialects from different regions other than like New York?
I would love to. Maybe it'll be something related to language rather than accents, because language, it's such a broad subject. There is so much to explore when it comes to language, to communicating, that maybe it'll be something else. I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it yet.
I wanted to ask you about the term code switching, which is something that you talk about in your documentary, which is how people talk to people within their own family or tribe. And tell us, what is code switching?
So code switching is when you're aware of the way you're speaking and you are going to use more of a standard Midwestern style and choose words that are, I don't know, more generic, I would say. When you're speaking in a setting that requires that. Say, for instance, you're giving a lecture, right? And when you're giving a lecture, the way you speak, the words you use are not going to be the same as when you're telling your, I don't know, your boyfriend or your mom what you had for dinner the day before. Right. It's a little bit more formal. You will probably listen to how you speak. Now, there are so many things related to code switching. For instance, a lot of our ideas, some people's ideas are, I have to speak this way so I can get a good job, right? I have to speak that way so I can be treated better. I have to speak that way so I can, I don't know, move up in the world. Or it's also related to class, because our ideas of, I fit in this context will, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I mean, at this point, it's one of those things that you're thinking, well, if you think that we should all have awareness of, we speak differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's one thing. But unfortunately, the society that we live in right now has a lot of these concepts and ideas of a stigma of the way you speak, or like, I don't want to associate myself with this person because they talk like they're from the ghetto or whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, the section that I really liked in your documentary about how people are trying to purchase a home or to rent an apartment, that going through the verbal process, if the person sounds that they're Black or Latino or, lower class, then they're told that the place is not available. But the minute somebody sounds like, they're from the Midwest or, have this kind of generic accent that or they sound white, let's say, that they're able to get the same place. I mean, I think that's what is really brilliant about your documentary, how it starts from a generic starting point about language and dialects, and then shows the socioeconomic impact of that. And
yes, and when it comes to code switching, it's tricky. When, say, for instance, if we're talking about getting a home, which still is a problem, still a problem to be able to get a home when you talk and the brokers hear an accent, it still gets infiltrated in that world of, oh, this person has an ethnic background, so I gotta pay attention and maybe give him a hard time to get to this neighborhood, right? Because they want to keep it, the neighbors want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And that is still a big problem. So when it comes to code switching, it's tricky because it doesn't matter how well you hide your accent.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't hide it to begin with.
Right.
To get the home that you want in a place that you want, right? When in essence, what we want is to evolve as a society and become more understanding and more and have empathy.
Yeah.
And think, why am I having those thoughts? Why am I having those feelings of, I don't want to associate myself with this person because they speak this way or they use these words.
Right. Yes, that's the form of racism that still exists in our country. Yeah. Oh, and Alexia, one more question for you.
What made you interested in American dialects?
Because I love dialects to begin with. I love accents. I am originally from Peru. And when I came here like 30 years ago, I thought, if I don't speak the way these people speak, I'm dead. But then I thought, you know what? No, I want to keep my identity and I'm going to keep my accent and I'm not going to work to change it. And I don't know if it's been difficult to climb, the professional life and get a career because of that. I don't think it has been, because in essence, at least in my industry, you have to work hard to get ahead. And that is what is what is appreciated. Not so much, if she speaks this way, I'm not going to give her the managing job, because I am able to be a manager, and I that's kind of like my bread and butter, right? Work as a location manager on the East Coast, because she does a good job. I got a set 1 hour or 2 hours before everybody shows up. Sometimes I sleep in my car to make sure there's parking, to make sure, everybody's there. So that is appreciated if you work hard. And the reason why I chose accents is because it's fascinating. It's a quality that people have. It's like a identity. It's who you are as a person. And I love to hear people talking in their own accents. And it could be Midwestern, it could be very mild, but America, and like I said, I chose to make this documentary about Americans, not about immigrants, because that's way too much. It's a lot. It would be a lot of subject. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to explore the ideas that Americans that were born and raised in this country still have and still will have as a society moving forward to the future. Are we changing, right? Are we becoming more accepting? Are we opening our minds? And you can tell that in some regions, it's not like that. Still a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I didn't know you were a location manager. You wear many hats. So have you made, how many other films have you made? Because I didn't get to ask that to you the last time. This is your first documentary, I get the sense, correct?
Yes, this is my first documentary and my first long form work. I have done short films and I write those stories and I direct the stories also. I do casting. It's tough to do the short films yourself because, the budgets are small and you have to do a lot of different jobs. But I've done a couple of short films, some commercials, and the short films are a lot of fun. And they are up in the festivals right now too. They're still running, and I just love fiction. But this is my first 1 hour project, and it was very. I loved it. I loved doing this project. I learned a lot. I learned about collaboration. I learned to work with a team. I learned to work with people, and I learned to let go. I think
that's so important when you're working. You want to give freedom to those people that you're working with, and
yes,
yet you still want to maintain control. But I think your film was one that our judges liked so much that we knew it was one of the first ones we knew we were going to show. So it's no accident that it's the film that we want to show on opening night, not only because we see ourselves as a humanist film festival where we celebrate the positive aspects of man and woman, and also because we're attached to Rutgers University. We're an academic institution, and we want to teach. So the film was perfect for us, and you should be very proud. I want to share screen now so that I can let our audience know how to be able to, why is this not coming here? Oh, it's not coming up, but let's see. Okay. It says allow to screen, share screen. Why is it not letting me do that? I'm on a new computer. So, so I thought I worked all of this out, and this is a little embarrassing, but it says, all right. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. So let's try it once again. I did it the last time, so I have no idea why it's not doing it this time. Okay, security and preferences. All right. Well, I've run into obstacles. So folks, what you need to do is you go to njfilmfest.com. And when you get to our homepage, njfilmfest.com, you will click on the button that says current events on the left-hand side. And when you've clicked on current events, it'll give you very, very brief general information about when the festival is taking place, which is between January 27th and February 19th. And then there'll be a big red button that will say, I guess I should check and just make sure I'm saying the right thing. It says tickets, info, and schedule. And then you click on that big red button and it bounces you to our Eventive website. We are partnered with Eventive, which is one of the main streaming platforms for film festivals. I discovered them during COVID, after working with a number of other film festivals to figure out what the hell we were going to do and how we were going to keep the show running. And so I just found out that Sundance is also using Eventive for the first time. They're also a hybrid film festival this go around. So we are way ahead of the curve, I'm happy to say. So when you get to the Eventive website, you can navigate all of the buttons there. You click on catalog, you can click on schedule, and you go to the festival site, and it provides you with all the information you need about the screenings. On Friday, January 27th, Anna's film is going to be playing with 2 short films. One is called Vagrant, which is about a man who lives in Sicily who saves stray dogs. And the other is a wonderful animation film called Buon Ferragosto. And this is a documentary film, an animation film by Claudia Miatello. She lives in Toronto, Canada, and it's about a little boy who's despondent because he's not able to celebrate the Italian holiday Buon Ferragosto with his family because his father has to work. So the father gets the little boy a cat. And so he goes on all these adventures with the cat throughout his town, which is Florence, Italy. Vagrant is a film by Giorgio Litt, who's a multiple winner at our festival with other films that he's made. So we're really happy to be able to invite him back. So you get those 3 films, all for the low price of $15. And that means that you can watch the film online, and you can also come to the live screening at 7 p.m. Anna will be there, and she's going to do another Q&A session with the audience. So please do come to the live screening on our festival opening date on January 27th at 7 p.m. at Rutgers University, which is located at 71 Hamilton Street in this really nice university lecture hall called Voorhees Hall, room 105. We have a wonderful projection system. Filmmakers always go, wow. I hope, Anna, you do the same when you come. And I want to say thank you to both of you. Thank you, Alexia, for the wonderful questions you asked. And Anna, I'm so glad that we were able to do the Q&A today. And we'll be sharing it with everybody in the near future. So thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you.